بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عظم الله لكم الأجر بمصاب مولاي أبا عبد الله الحسين سلام الله عليه. Inshallah, we will begin the program with reciting Ziyarat Ashura. Ziyarat Ashura is attributed by or to Imam al-Baqir Salamullahi alayhi, and a hadith that is narrated by him. Whoever visits Imam Hussein on the day of Ashura with tears and sorrow will meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment with reward of 2,000 pilgrimage, 2,000 umrahs, and 2,000 battles with the Prophet and the righteous Imams. May Allah give us the opportunity to be amongst the companions of our holy Imam Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. أزور سيدي ومولاي ومعتمدي ورجائي ذخري وذخيرتي في آخرتي ودنياي مولاي أبا عبد الله الحسين، إصالة عن نفسي ونيابة عن والدي ووالد والدي وعن إخوتي وأخواتي وجيراني وأصدقائي، ونيابة عن المؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات، ومن تمسني الزيارة والدعاء قربة إلى الله تعالى. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. If you can, face towards the Qibla, inshallah. Barakallah fikum. And just imagine yourselves, you are in the shrine of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein Salamullahi alayhi. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصيين. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثأره والوتر الموتور. السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله، لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام، وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات. فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت، ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وأزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها، ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم، ولعن الله الممهدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم، ومن أشياعهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم. يا أبا عبد الله, or recite with me this. إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم. Altogether, إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان، ولعن الله بني أمية قاطبة، ولعن الله ابن مرجانة، ولعن الله عمر بن سعد، ولعن الله شمران، ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتنقبت لقتالك بأبي أنت وأمي. لقد عظم مصابي بك، فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله، إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بموالاتك وبالبراءة ممن قاتلك ونصب لك الحرب، وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس الظلم والجور عليكم، وأبرأوا إلى الله وإلى رسوله ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانه وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشياعكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم، وأتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم، وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحرب، وبالبراءة من أشياعهم وأتباعهم. Altogether, إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم، وولي لمن والاكم، وعدو لمن عاداكم. Let's repeat this. إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم، وولي لمن والاكم، وعدو لمن عاداكم. فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة، وأن يثبتني عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة، وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله، وأن يرزقني طلب آثاركم مع إمام هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم، وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا بمصيبته، مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد، ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية، وابن آكلة الأكباد اللعين ابن اللعين على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله في كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم العن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية، عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فضاعف عليهم اللعنة منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام. Recite this 100 times. اللهم العن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد، وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم العن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم العنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. All together. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين 100 times. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني، وأبدأ به أولا ثم العن الثانية والثالثة والرابع. اللهم العن يزيد خامسا، والعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجانة وعمر بن سعد وشمران وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. please go towards sujood.
اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم. الحمد لله على عظيم رزيتي. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود، وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام.
Ask for your hawa'ij, and inshallah if you can, pray 2 rak'ah salat, ziyarah, and gift it to the Imam. He will come back on the day of Ashura, on the day of Friday. We pray for his ta'jil al-faraj, for his safety. Ask your hawaj, inshallah. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the opportunity to visit Mawla al-Hussein salamullahi alayhi very soon, inshallah. Inshallah, we will continue with the program, with the recitation of the tragedy of what happened in Karbala, the Maqtal, inshallah. So if everybody face towards the stage, inshallah, we will continue with that. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Let's please welcome Samahat Sheikh Jaffer with 3 loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. For the love of the awaited Savior of humanity, Imam al-Mahdi, Sallu ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا بأبي الأحرار سيد الشهداء أبي عبد الله الحسين، وجعلنا من المنتظمين بمصابهم مع إمام منصور من آل محمد. فعلى الأطائب من أهل بيت محمد وعلي صلى الله عليهما وآلهما فليبكي الباكون، وإياهم فليندب النادبون، ولمثلهم فلتذرف الدموع، وليصرخ الصالحون، ويذج الضاجون، ويعج العاجون. أين الحسن أين الحسين؟ All together. أين الحسن أين الحسين؟ أين الحسن أين الحسين؟ أين أبناء الحسين؟ صالح بعد صالح، وصادق بعد صادق. On the afternoon of the 10th of Muharram, Aba Abdullah al-Hussein stands alone. If he looks towards one side of the battlefield, he will see the bodies of his companions laid strewn. If he looks towards the other side of the battlefield, close towards the banks of the river Euphrates, he will see where his brother Abul Fadl al-Abbas's body lies, having been torn to pieces. If he looks behind him inside the tents, he will find the broken bodies of his beloveds, like his Akbar and his Qasim. And just a few minutes ago, he had to bury his 6-month-old baby with his own hands. It is said that Imam al-Hussein stands as if he had lost all hope in his life. كان آيسا من الحياة. Without any supporters, Hussein was described as having lost all hope in this world. نظر يمينا وشمالا فلم ير إلا من صافح التراب جبينه وقطع الحمام أنينا. He looked right and he looked left for helpers, only to find his companions slain like sacrificial lambs. فنادى يا أبطال الصفا ويا فرسان الهيجا ما لي أناديكم فلا تجيبون وأدعوكم فلا تسمعون. Hussein called his companions, O heroes of the battlefield, O knights of warfare, I call unto you, but you do not answer. If you are asleep, I beseech you to wake up. These are the women of the Prophet. They have been bereaved for your loss. So rise, O noble ones, and protect the progeny from the wicked tyrants. Alas, death has prevailed over you, or else you would have supported me. Then a voice that breaks the heart called his companions. He called out one by one, Ya Habib, Ya Zuhair, Ya Nafi', wa Ya Muslim. When the children and women heard this, they cried and wailed. The intents of crying of the women and the children reached a new peak. So the Imam returned to the camp with a broken heart and a back that was bent. Heavily wounded, Hussein summoned his family to bid them a final farewell. He advised his women to prepare for the affliction, to be patient and to surrender to the will of Allah. His daughter Sukaina said, Father, have you surrendered to death? He replied, how does a man not surrender to death when he has no supporters or defenders left? The women wept, and Hussein consoled them again and urged them to be patient. He then went to see his son Ali ibn al-Hussein al-Sajjad, who was bedridden and being cared for by his auntie Zainab. When Imam al-Sajjad saw his father, he tried to stand up but couldn't do so as he was too ill. So he said to his aunt, help me rest my back on your chest, for this is the son of the Prophet who has come. Imam al-Hussein asked him about his situation. He responded by thanking Allah. Then Ali ibn al-Hussein asked his father, what have you done with these hypocrites? What is the situation on the battlefield? Hussein replied, my son, they have succumbed to the influence of Satan and forgotten Allah. Overcome with grief, As-Sajjad asked about his uncle Abbas. Oh my father, where is our uncle Abbas? Can you imagine Sajjad waking up from his slumber, not hearing the voice of Abbas in the tents anymore, asking Zainab, asking Kulthum, asking Hussein, where is Abbas? To which Hussein shared the devastating news, your uncle was martyred and his two hands are left severed by the banks of the river Euphrates. As-Sajjad wept intensely until he lost consciousness. Upon awakening, he inquired about the others of the family. Where is my brother Ali al-Akbar? Where is Habib ibn Madahir? Where is Muslim ibn Awsaja? Where is Zuhair ibn Qayn? For I know that they would never let you fight unless they had given themselves first. Imam al-Hussein responds, my son, know that there are no men left in the camp except me and you. Those whom you seek have all been martyred, their lifeless bodies laying upon the ground. Amidst his tears and shock, As-Sajjad implored his aunt, hand me a stick and hand me a sword, so that I may lean on the stick and defend the grandson of Rasulullah, for life holds no value without him. Imam al-Hussein intervened, preventing his son from rising, and entrusted him with the care of his family. He announced to the family that As-Sajjad would assume the role of Imamat after him. Hussein then said, my son, convey my greetings to my followers and tell them, my father was indeed killed as a stranger, so mourn him, and he was left as a martyr, so weep for him. Amongst our dhakirin, there are those that say that in the wasiyah of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein to As-Sajjad, he says, convey to my Shia that every time they drink a cold glass of water to remember the thirst of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. He then gave him the inheritance of the prophets and secret covenants of divine leadership. He informed him that the prophetic books and other belongings were entrusted to Salama. Imam As-Sajjad recounts, on the day my father was martyred, he embraced me against his wounded chest. As blood poured forth, he said to me, my son, hold fast to this supplication that my mother taught me, passed down from Allah's messenger who received it from Jibreel. Whenever you find yourself engulfed in sorrow, despair and trials, or facing a grave challenge, recite the following dua: by the right of Yasin and the noble Quran, by the right of Taha and the magnificent Quran, O you who has the power to fulfill the need of the supplicants, O you who knows what lies within the conscience, O you who brings relief to the afflicted, O you who brings solace to the distressed, O provider of the young child, O who does not require explanation, send blessings upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad, then mention your wish. Imam al-Hussein began to head towards the enemies. He began reciting lines of poetry. أنا الحسين بن علي عليت أن لا أنثني أحمي عيالات أبي أمضي على دين النبي. I am Hussein, son of Ali. I vow not to bow down. I am defending my family. I follow the religion of the Prophet. Abdullah ibn Ammar recounts, I have never witnessed a man devastated and more sorrowful after witnessing the massacre of his children and his companions, yet who is more steadfast and courageous than Hussein. Despite numerous men launching attacks upon him, he would fearlessly retaliate, causing them to scatter like a flock of sheep fleeing from a ferocious wolf. Then he would return to his position. He would repeatedly say, La quwwata illa billahi al-ali al-azim, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-ali al-azim. There is no power nor strength except that with Allah. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, according to one narration, he goes towards the banks of the river Euphrates. The narration says that as he arrives at the banks, the enemy called out, O Hussein, are you going to drink water whilst we are going to attack your women? Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam was but inches from being able to drink water and quench his thirst. But rather, they stopped him from being able to do this. Not allowing his women and children to be attacked, he rushed back towards the tents in order to stop an attack on his family members. When Imam al-Hussein saw their gathering, which resembled a massive torrent, he raised his hands towards the heaven and prayed to Allah, My Lord, you are my haven in every mishap, my hope in every predicament, my refuge and defender in every ordeal. Hussein challenged the enemy, daring them to face him in battle. Whoever stepped forward and confronted him met their doom. They would come towards the Hussein's sword, and each time he would dispatch them towards the fires of hell. Observing this, Umar ibn Sa'ad shouted at his troops, Woe unto you! Are you aware of whom you are fighting against? This is the son of Ali, the slayer of the Arab warriors. Attack him, for he is just one man. man. At this point, Imam al-Hussein cried out, "Woe unto you, O followers of the family of Abu Sufyan! If you have no religion and do not fear resurrection, then be free in this world, and if you are truly Arab, then return back to your roots." Shimr replied by saying, "O son of Fatima, what do you mean by this saying?" Hussein replied, "I am the one who is fighting you, and if you are fighting against me, then know that the women are innocent and bear no responsibility. Therefore keep your forces away from my family as long as I am alive." In response, Shimr commanded to his men, "Leave the man's family and focus your attack on him." At this point, Hussein had returned back to the tents. This is now the final wida. The next time Zainab and Kulthum see Imam al-Hussein, his body will be separated from his head. Hussein called out to his family members, "This is the final wida." The women and children came out and started to embrace Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. One narration says that a child came out and began to hug Abu Abdullah. She said, "Oh father, oh Abu Abdullah, my father said that he was going to bring me water, but he has not returned. Can you please tell me where is my father? Can you please take me to him, for I long to be able to see him?" Hussein says to this child, "Oh my little child, if I was to take you to your father, you would not return." The poets say that at this point, Sukaina comes out and comes towards her father. This is just outside of the tents. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam sees his daughter and knows what fate is going to belong her in a few minutes' time. She is going to be chased from tent to tent. They are going to slap her cheeks. They are going to set fire to her clothes. They are going to bind her arms and legs. They are going to take her from city to city and parade her. They are going to try to sell her off as a slave. This is in the heart of Hussein in these moments. All Sukaina can say is, "Oh my father, will you pat my head like you pat the head of your father?" Sukaina wants to buy a few more seconds with her father. All she can say is, "I know that there will not be someone to pat my head in a few minutes. I just want to know what it's like in the comfort of my father for a few more seconds." Sukaina falls asleep in the chest of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. The narration says he calls upon Zainab and says, "Take this child." He gives to her the wasiyah and says, "Bear patiently after me." She places the child back in the tent. Hussein turns towards the enemies, but he hears a voice coming from behind him. "Mahlan, mahla, ya ibn az-Zahra. Mahlan, mahla, ya ibn az-Zahra. Go slowly, O son of Zahra." Calling him with the name of son of Zahra breaks the heart of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. "Zainab, you know how much this name means to me. Why do you call me with the name of my mother?" Zainab says, "Do you not want me to give you the wasiyah of our mother Fatima for you at this moment?" He says, "Yes." She comes and kisses him on the chest, kisses him on the nose, kisses him on the forehead. Some say comes and kisses him on the neck. "Why do you kiss me on the chest and why do you kiss me on the neck?" "Because in a few minutes' time your head will be severed from your shoulders. The horse horses will trample upon your chest, breaking the bones in your body. Our mother Fatima could not be here for this moment. She wants me to convey her salutations by kissing you on your chest and kissing you upon your neck. The Dhakirin say, can you imagine the response from Abu Abdullah al-Hussein? This is not mentioned in the Maqtal, but imagine, can you imagine Hussein taking the wrists of Zainab and kissing the wrists of Zainab? I will not be here to support you. Why do you kiss me on the wrists? Because they're going to tie a rope around your wrists and drag you from city to city. The narration says in the Maqtal at this point, Umar ibn Sa'ad calls out, attack Hussein whilst he is busy with his family. For if you allow him to attack you, he will destroy all of you. The Maqtal says that the arrows were showered down upon the tents of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. It says it pierced the tents. We don't know how many women and children were killed in that attack by the showering of arrows. They launched their treacherous ambush on our oppressed and lonely Imam, inflicting numerous wounds upon him. They targeted him relentlessly with a barrage of arrows, making him resemble the spikes upon a hedgehog. Imam al-Hussein responded by saying, O nation of evil, how wickedly have you treated the progeny of Muhammad. Know that after killing me, you will not fear killing anyone else. By God, I hope that my Lord will honor me with martyrdom at your hands, and then avenge me in ways in which you do not perceive. Exhausted by his severe injuries and tormented by his unbearable thirst, Hussein paused to rest. As he rested on his horse, a savage by the name of Abu al-Hutuf hurled a rock on the direction of Hussein, striking him on his blessed forehead. This is where Hussein used to perform his sajda. Now it is bleeding. This is the reason why Zainab kissed the forehead of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein a moment earlier, because there was a rock thrown upon it. He is bleeding from his head over his face. Imam al-Hussein has blood in his eyes, blood in his mouth. Imam al-Hussein lifts his shirt to wipe away the blood from his face, and in that moment, Hurmala steps forward. The narration says that he takes out a three-pronged arrow, and not only this, he chose an arrow that had been dipped in poison. We say to you, O Shimmer, O Hurmala, why would you take these steps? Why would you take an arrow which was dipped in poison? As Imam al-Hussein lifts his shirt to wipe his face, he begins to show the whiteness of his chest. Hurmala stands point blank range in front of Imam al-Hussein. He pulls back the arrow. It strikes him through the chest. Imam al-Hussein calls out, in the name of Allah, by Allah, upon the path of Allah, and with the messenger of Allah. With his head raised towards the sky, he beseeches, O Allah, bear witness that they are slaying a man other than whom there is no grandson, no son of a prophet left upon this earth. Hussein reached for the arrow shaft protruding from his back and pulled it out, causing a torrent of blood to gush forth like a downpour from a rooftop gutter. Placing his hand beneath the wound, he gathered some of the blood blood and splashed it towards the heavens. The hadith says, not a single drop returned to the ground, as if Allah himself was saying, I am accepting your blood and sacrifice Hussain. He then took a handful of blood from his wound, dyed his head and beard with it, and declared, this is how I shall meet my grandfather, the messenger of Allah, adorned with my own blood in this manner, and I shall inform him that such and such murdered me. At this point, the sheer weakness of Hussain caused him to fall to the ground from his horse. There is a narration that says that he had so many spikes and arrows in his body that when his body fell to the ground, it was the arrows that touched the ground before the body of Hussain fell. The cries of the angels reach a new peak. For a while they left Hussain all alone. Then they proceeded to encircle him as he laid on the ground. A young boy, approximately 9 years old, broke free from his auntie's grasp and rushed towards Hussain, declaring, by Allah, I will not leave Hussain, my uncle. This was Abdullah, the son of Imam Al-Hassan alayhi salam, just 9 years old. A killer by the name of Bahr ibn Ka'ab aimed his sword towards Imam al-Hussein, prompting this 9-year-old boy to shout out, woe unto you, the son of the wicked man. Are you going to kill my uncle? He leapt in front of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, putting his hand to stop the strike of the man. The man struck the boy Abdullah on the arm. Abdullah instinctively raised his hand to be able to sheathe the Imam, but the sword severed the arm of this young boy, the son of Imam al-Hassan, leaving it hanging as a mere piece of skin from his body. He cried out, my uncle, they have cut off my arm. Hussein embraced him and comforted him and said, oh my nephew, be patient. God will reunite you. God will reunite you with your righteous ancestors in a moment. Standing close by, Harmala took a third arrow. He had already slaughtered Abdullah al-Radi. He has already shot an arrow into the chest of Hussein. Harmala takes out another arrow, and whilst Abdullah is in the embrace of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, he steps forward and fires an arrow into Abdullah ibn Hassan, killing him whilst he's in the embrace of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. The enemy then drew closer and surrounded Hussein as he laid on the ground. Zainab stood by the entrance of the tent and screamed, O Umar ibn Sa'ad, woe unto you. They are killing Hussein whilst you just stand and watch. Umar ibn Sa'ad turned his face away. She then addressed the enemy troops, woe unto you. Is there no Muslim amongst you? No one responded. Shimmer yelled at his men, why make this man wait? What holds you back from killing him? He is full of wounds and arrows. Attack him at once. They ambushed Abu Abdullah al-Hussein from every side. Hussein tries to stand up using his sword, but every time someone comes to attack him, he falls. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, when those people rushed to sever his blessed head, a call came from the depths of Allah's throne. O nation that has strayed and become bewildered after their prophet, verily by Allah they weren't and would never be guided until the one who is sent to avenge the blood of Hussein rises up. Hilal bin Nafi' recounts, I was standing amongst the army of Umar ibn Sa'ad when a man suddenly cried out, Commander, I bring you good news. Shimr has slain Hussain. In haste I moved through the ranks and witnessed Hussain drenched in his own blood in the throes of death. By Allah, I have never seen a dying man drenched in so much blood, yet who was more radiant than him at this moment. The beauty of his face was such that it distracted me from the thoughts of killing him. In that moment, he asked for a sip of water, but I heard someone shout out, by Allah, you will not taste water until you enter the inferno and drink from its searing oil. Hussain replied, I shall seek my grandfather and drink the purest water, and I will tell him what you have done to me on this day. The words ignited such a fury within them as if Allah had never instilled any trace of mercy in their hearts. These are the last moments of Aba Abdullah al-Hussain. Hussain, he is struggling on the ground, moving from left and right. When Imam al-Hussein weakened, Shimr called out, may your mothers grieve over you. Fulfill your orders upon him. So they attacked him all at once. Thousands of people are now descending on the grandson of Rasulullah. They are now surrounding Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. A group attacked with their swords, another launched with their spears, whilst another approached and hurled rocks at Hussein whilst he was lying on the ground. Imam al-Baqir has a narration in which he says, there were more than 1,900 wounds on the body of my grandfather Hussein. Every time they threw a rock, it landed on an existing wound. Every time they struck a sword, it landed on a space in which had already been cut. A dense dark smoke emerged, accompanied by a fierce crimson wind, obscuring everything in its path, such that people thought that divine retribution had come. One person came towards Hussein and struck him on his left shoulder. An archer came forward and shot an arrow that slashed part of the neck of Hussein. Another man came forward and struck him on his right side. Sinan ibn Anas came forward and stuck a spear into his body. Zainab comes out. She calls out, I wish the sky fell onto the earth. At this moment, Zainab is standing on Tilla. She is watching this attack on her brother. The poets say that she says to the earth of Karbala, rise, for I want to be able to see what's happening to my brother Hussein. The poets say Hussein calls out, Tilla, lower yourself. I don't want Zainab to see what is about to happen to me. I wish that the sky fell on the earth while they took turns to injure him. No one is yet willing to kill the Imam. Umar ibn Sa'ad calls out to his troops, relieve Hussein. Only one person now steps forward. Shimr bin al-Jawshan steps forward. I want you to imagine that the earth is beginning to shake underneath them at this sin. I want you to imagine that the Prophet leaves the heavens to come see his grandson. I want you to imagine Ali ibn Abi Talib comes to see his son. But I want you to imagine that Fatima is standing on the grounds of Karbala. Shimr, what are you about to do to my son? Shimr steps forward, kicks Hussein over. He leans over his chest. He grabs him by the beard. He pulls him towards him. He takes out a blunt dagger. He strikes him 13 times. He strikes him again and again and again and again and again and again
and again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again. He lifts the head of Hussein into the skies. Jibreel calls out, قد قتل الحسين بأرض كربلاء. قد قتل الحسين بأرض كربلاء. قد ذبح الحسين بأرض كربلاء.
As Imam Hussein lies on the ground and Shimmer sits upon his chest, what does Zainab say? She calls out, I beg you, Shimmer, don't sever his head. What does she say? Bring your sword to me and take mine instead. I beg you, Shimmer, don't sever his head.
I beg you, Shimmer, don't sever his head. Bring your sword to me and take mine instead. I beg you, Shimmer, don't sever his head. Bring your sword to me and take mine instead.
She cries out, Wa Imama, Wa Hussaina. He sits on his chest and he watches Zainab run. Beside her brother, no brothers and no one. Is there any to help me? No, there is none. In her hopelessness to her brother she fled. She screams to Shimmer, leave my brother alone. The arrows cutting him, for his pain they atone. The cuts on his body, they have reached his bone. And the dust weeps for holding the blood that he's bled.
Leave him alone, maybe he'll reawaken. You sit on his chest whilst his back is broken. His eyes watch Zainab by her grief stricken. He watches her as he severs Hussein's head. She sits by him massacred by his absence. She sits by him massacred by his absence. His body is here, but where is his presence? Everything is broken except his silence, and nothing was left of him unless it bled.
She screams as if her soul from her body leaps. She screams as if her soul from her body leaps. She says, my brother in a river of his own blood sleeps. She says, my brother in a river of his own blood sleeps. She slaps her head so hard that for her he weeps as his severed head toward the spear is led. She says, "O head that I once adored in awe of its height. O head that once embarrassed the moon's night. O head, not only are your girls left in fright, but they see your head placed on a spear and its drenched blood red."
As if massacring you wasn't enough, and neither was tearing these girls' hearts in half. We watch the spear that holds your holy head laugh. So today's grief would match yesterday's bloodshed. My eyes scarred by seeing your head on a spear. The tears I cry, our blood tortures me each tear. I see the lion that other lions fear, with a severed neck into a spear ember.
She tells the army, "If you don't care for him, at least care for his children. If you don't care for him, at least care for his children. At least let his head from their eyes be hidden. You torment the little hearts of each orphan, telling them that to Shimmer's sword Hussain was fed. They killed her brother, and they left him with no shroud. They raise his head, and they raise it as if they're proud, taking his woman captive before a crowd, and they curse his father, as to Yazid they head."
O grandfather, two of him were torn apart. O grandfather, his head from body they'd part. O grandfather, two of him were torn apart. O grandfather, his head from body they'd part. O grandfather, nothing would have soothed his heart except your kiss upon his holy forehead. O grandfather, killed with no one beside him. He looked to the distance and saw only them. The silence of the wind sang a painful hymn, telling him you're alone, and alone you tread.
She says, "If my father knows just how we are treated, then how is a spear with my brother's head weighted? If my father knows just how we are treated, then how is a spear with my brother's head weighted? Indeed the sword, my brother's blood defeated, but we're left to fight this sword's vengeance and dread." She calls her father and she says, "O lion of battle," to which battle crawls. She says, "O lion of battle," to Hussain. "O lion of battle, O Hussain," to which battle crawls. "O catcher of the flag, if ever it falls, we're left paraded in Yazid's courts and halls. Through torture, death and pain, these women I've led." After they steal his head,
they steal his head as they wail.
They take her captive, and Zainab they steal.
They take her captive, and his Zainab they steal.
Leaving in her a wound that only he could heal.
Leaving in her a wound only he could heal.
After they killed him, her brother they'd behead.
After they killed him, her brother they'd behead. After they killed him, her brother they'd behead. After they steal his head, as they will, they take her captive, and his Zainab they steal, leaving in her a wound only he could heal. After they killed him, her brother they'd behead. Rise in honor of Imam Hussein for the lamentation. Zahra, go back, oh mother, they've killed my brother. Zainab said, do not look, ya Zahra. One far Karbala, Zainab said, do not look, ya Zahra. Go back, oh mother, they've killed my brother. Zainab said, do not. When Fatima came to Karbala, Zainab said, do not look, ya Zahra. Go back, oh mother, they've killed my brother. Zainab said, do not. When the night fell on that desert camping, a lonely voice was heard in morning. Then she looked and saw someone approaching, one who would join her in grieving. She had come to see her progeny and what had become of their destiny. But she could not let her two go closer. She did not want her to really see. I do not want you to go further. You will only see pain and horror. Body with no head, 72 dead. Zainab said, do not look, ya Zahra. When Fatima came, Zainab said, do not look, ya Zahra. Ma came to Karbala, Zainab said, do not look, ya Zahra. Go back, oh mother, they've killed my brother. Zainab said, do not. Before you were born, daughter, I was shown this by your grandfather. He told me what was to befall my son and how it would be a tragedy. My brother told me of this day as well. I knew what was to become of me. But even when I could not stand witness, when I saw Shimir walking to him, my mother, you cannot bear to see what they did to his broken body. Arrow in his heart, liver ripped apart. Zainab said, do not. When Fatima came to Karbala, Zainab said, do not go back, oh mother, they've killed my brother. Oh mother, when he stood and addressed the people who had now turned on him, he cried and shed the bitterest of tears. I never saw such a thing from him. My brother, you who define what is brave, how can I stand to see you crying? I cry not for what shall happen to us, but that the cause of their doom is me. Even in this final moment, he could only think of their torment. How could they kill him? He came to help them. Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. When Fatima came, Zainab said, do not go back, oh mother, they've killed my brother. Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. Then her mother's eyes began to wander. Another body she had to see. A new grave had been dug in the morning. A young infant in there was buried. There lay the young Qasim, son of Hassan, and next to him the older Ali. But it was Ali al-Asghar she came to, the one they killed in his father's arms. What was the sin of this poor child? When the arrow hit, he had wailed. He cried, I'm thirsty. Had they no mercy? Zainab said, do not look, Ya. Zainab said, do not. Then her mother's eyes began to wander. Another body she had to see. A new grave had been dug in the morning. A young infant in there was buried. There lay the young Qasim, son of Hassan, and next to him the older Ali. But it was Ali al-Asghar she came to, the one they killed in his father's arms. What was the sin of this poor child? When the arrow hit, he had wailed. He cried, I'm thirsty. Had they no mercy? Zainab said, do not. Zainab said, do not. Another had now joined them in their pain. She had also lost her only sons. Fatima held her hand and led the way to the river she wanted to go. Zainab knew what for they had gone searching. Her noble brother they could not see. His long arms would show and lead them to him, where they lay the rest of his body. He went to bring back for us water. Then we heard a shout, oh my brother. We saw the flag fell, that was the farewell. Zainab said, do not look, ya Zahra. When Fatima came, Zainab said, do not look, ya Zahra. When Fatima came, Zainab said, do not look, ya Zahra. Go back, oh mother, they've killed my brother. Zainab said, do not look, ya Zahra. Zainab said, do not look, ya Zahra. نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله. 10 times in your loudest voices. يا الله 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 يا الله. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعا ويكشف السوء. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعا ويكشف السوء. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعا ويكشف السوء. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. دعاء الفرج. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. ولأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات and the Gohari family نهدي ثواب سورة الفاتحة تسبق الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. For Sayyidah Zainab, salamullahi alayha. Please be here. Commemorate what Sayyidah Zainab went through, what the Sabaya, what the children of Abu Abdullah went through. And inshallah, we will conclude the program tonight as well. We will be opening doors at 7 and having the program start at 7:30, inshallah. Again, please do try your best to come tonight. This is the final night. Let's all be together, inshallah, to remember Sayyidah Zainab, salamullahi alayha. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.